Barron Trump, casually visiting a Walmart in Miami, was stunned to see an 82-year-old woman working tirelessly at the checkout counter. The sight left him deeply concerned, but what he did next for her will leave you speechless. The Walmart store in Miami, Florida, was buzzing with life. Customers hurried through the aisles, carts full of groceries, their conversations blending into a soft hum. Near the checkout counter, 18-year-old Barron Trump stood quietly, observing the scene. Dressed casually and accompanied by minimal security, he had come to shop discreetly. Yet, his attention was drawn to something that made him pause. An elderly woman, Nola Carpenter, worked at the counter. At 82 years old, her shaky hands struggled to scan the items. She gave a tired smile, but her eyes showed how worn out she was. Every movement seemed hard, and her shoulders drooped as she bagged the groceries. The sight touched Barron deeply. Barron had been raised to respect hard work. His parents often taught him the value of kindness and helping those in need. Despite growing up in a life of privilege, he was curious about people's struggles and empathized with them. Watching Nola now, he felt a wave of emotion he couldn't ignore. She should be resting, not working like this, Barron thought to himself. The question lingered in his mind, why does she have to work so hard at her age? He couldn't look away. Each scan of the machine, each bag she packed, told a silent story of perseverance and pain. Barron's heart grew heavy with concern. He decided to step closer, not sure what he could do, but knowing he had to start somewhere. This moment, simple yet powerful, was about to change both their lives forever. The image stayed with Barron, making his heart ache. He had never seen someone her age working so hard. Most people he knew at that stage of life were retired, surrounded by family or enjoying peaceful days. But here was Nola, struggling to keep up in a job that demanded so much energy. Why does she have to do this? Barron wondered. The thought weighed on him. He couldn't ignore the unfairness of it all. After a few minutes, he gathered the courage to approach her. "Hi, ma'am," he said softly, not wanting to startle her. "Are you okay? You look tired." Nola glanced up at him, surprised by the kind tone in his voice. "Oh, I'm fine, dear," she replied, her voice gentle but weary. "Just another day at work." Barron hesitated, then asked the question that had been burning in his mind. "If you don't mind me asking, why are you still working at your age? Most people are retired." Nola sighed and lowered her gaze. "Retirement isn't an option for me. I have a mortgage to pay off, and there's no one else to help. So, I keep going." Her words struck Barron like a bolt of lightning. The reality of her situation left him speechless. How could someone so deserving of rest be trapped in this endless cycle of work? In that moment, Barron knew he had to help. He didn't have a plan yet, but his determination was set. That evening, sitting in his room, he knew he had to act. He didn't have all the answers, but he had one thing that could make a difference: his platform. Pulling out his phone, he scrolled through the pictures he had discreetly taken of Nola earlier that day, with her permission. One image stood out. It captured her in a quiet moment, holding a grocery bag, her hands trembling slightly. Her kind but weary expression told a story all on its own. It was a story of resilience, of someone who had given so much and deserved better. Barron wrote a heartfelt caption to go along with the photo. At 82 years old, this incredible woman is still working to pay off her mortgage. Life shouldn't be this hard. We can do better. He paused for a moment, then added, "I believe we can help her." Let us come together and make her retirement possible. With that, he hit post. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within minutes, comments began pouring in. People were moved by Nola's story, and Barron's genuine concern struck a chord. His followers began sharing the post, and soon, it was spreading like wildfire. News outlets picked up the story, and hashtags like Help Nola and Kindness Matters started trending. Inspired by the outpouring of support, Barron decided to take things further. He set up a GoFundMe campaign with a clear goal: $100,000 to help Nola pay off her mortgage and finally retire. On the campaign page, he wrote about her struggles and why he felt compelled to act. Nola has worked tirelessly her whole life. She deserves rest and peace, not exhaustion. Together, we can make this happen. The donations started trickling in within minutes. $10 here, $50 there. Small contributions came from all over the world. Some people left heartfelt messages, sharing their own stories of how their grandparents had struggled in similar ways. Others simply thanked Barron for bringing Nola's story to light. But the trickle quickly became a flood. By the end of the first day, the campaign had already raised over $50,000. By the second day, it surpassed 100,000/U2014, and the donations didn't stop there. People were inspired by the simple act of kindness and wanted to be part of something bigger. Barron was overwhelmed by the response. It wasn't just the money, it was the way people came together. The messages of support, the shared stories, and the outpouring of love were proof that compassion still existed in the world. He couldn't wait to share the news with Nola. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he was part of something truly meaningful. The campaign continued to grow, with donations reaching well over 200,000 within days. Barron knew this wasn't just about Nola anymore. It was a reminder to everyone that a small act of kindness could ripple out and change lives. As he looked at the growing total, he felt a deep sense of purpose. This was just the beginning. As Nola's story gained momentum, it began to attract attention far beyond Barron's social media. News outlets quickly picked it up, captivated by the contrast between Nola's struggles and Barron's privileged background. Headlines ranged from teen youth's influence to help elderly woman retire to Barron Trump's act of kindness sparks global movement. The story had struck a universal chord, but with the attention came challenges Barron hadn't anticipated. Support flooded in from across the globe. Thousands praised Barron's empathy and action, calling him an inspiration. "This is what humanity needs," one commenter wrote. A reminder that kindness and compassion can change lives. Many thanked him for shedding light on a broader issue: how society often overlooks its elderly and undervalues their contributions. The generosity poured in as people rallied behind Nola, donating to the fundraiser and sharing their own stories of grandparents and parents who had faced similar struggles. But not all the reactions were positive. Critics questioned Barron's motives, accusing him of using Nola's story for publicity. Some claimed it was a carefully planned stunt to improve his family's image. If he really cared, he'd address the bigger issues, one post read. The criticism stung, but Barron refused to let it derail him. He knew his intentions were pure, and he focused on the good that was coming from his actions. Behind the scenes, the overwhelming response to the campaign began to weigh on him. The constant media attention, the debates about his motives, and the sheer responsibility of managing a movement this large made him pause and reflect. Late one night, Barron sat in his room, scrolling through comments and reading messages from strangers. Some shared heartbreaking stories about their own struggles, while others simply expressed gratitude for his kindness. He realized the depth of the platform he had and the power it held. This isn't just about Nola anymore, he thought. This is about showing the world what kindness can do. For the first time, he truly understood the weight of privilege and the responsibility that came with it. Barron promised himself that he wouldn't let the noise distract him from the real purpose of this campaign, helping Nola and inspiring others to act. Meanwhile, Nola's life began to change in ways she never expected. At first, she was overwhelmed by the sudden attention. Journalists and cameras followed her at work, asking her questions about her life and how she felt about the campaign. Though shy at first, she began to open up, sharing her story with quiet dignity. Nola spoke of her late husband, who had passed away decades ago, leaving her to raise their children alone. She described the long hours she worked to keep a roof over their heads, often skipping meals to make ends meet. She had always been proud of her independence, but it had come at a cost. Now, at 82, she was still working, not because she wanted to, but because she had to. Her words resonated deeply with viewers, putting a human face to the struggles so many elderly people face. Despite the spotlight, Nola remained humble and grateful. In interviews, she spoke lovingly about the community of people who had come together to support her. "I never thought something like this would happen to me," she said tearfully. "I've worked hard my whole life, and I thought I'd have to keep going until the end. But now, because of Barron and all these kind-hearted people, I can finally rest." Her gratitude only deepened the emotional impact of the story. People who had donated felt a personal connection to her. Some shared their own stories of loved ones who had struggled in their later years. Others praised her strength and resilience, saying she reminded them of their own parents or grandparents. As the campaign continued to grow, the emotional weight of the story became undeniable. It wasn't just about money, it was about giving a woman who had sacrificed so much a chance to live the rest of her life in peace. For Barron, it was also a lesson in perseverance and empathy. He learned to navigate both the praise and criticism, focusing on the lives he could impact rather than the opinions of those who doubted him. Through it all, Nola's story became a symbol of hope. Her humility, her strength, and her gratitude touched millions of hearts. And Barron, once a quiet observer in a busy Walmart store, found himself transformed by the simple act of noticing someone in need and deciding to help. The journey was far from over, but it had already made an indelible mark on both their lives and the lives of countless others. The fundraiser had taken on a life of its own. What started as a small gesture of kindness had turned into something extraordinary. Within just a few days, the GoFundMe campaign exceeded 200,000, far beyond the initial goal. Each donation came with a message of love and support for Nola, and Barron couldn't believe how quickly people had rallied together. The world had proven that compassion could thrive in even the busiest, most chaotic times. Barron sat at his desk, staring at the final amount with a mixture of pride and disbelief. The donations had poured in from all corners of the world, each one a testament to the impact of a single act of kindness. He knew it was time to deliver the life-changing news to Nola. He couldn't wait to see her reaction. The next day, Barron returned to Walmart. This time, he wasn't just an observer, he was a messenger of hope. Nola was on her break in the small, quiet employee lounge. She was sipping from a cup of tea, her expression calm but weary, unaware of the storm of kindness that had been brewing around her. When she saw Barron walk in, her face lit up with a warm smile. "Well, hello again, young man," she greeted him kindly. "What brings you back here?" Barron sat down across from her, his heart pounding with excitement. "I have something to share with you," he said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "Remember when I asked you about your story, I couldn't stop thinking about you and how hard you've worked. So, I shared your story with others." Nola's smile faded into a look of quiet curiosity. "What do you mean?" she asked. Barron took a deep breath and continued. "I started a fundraiser to help you retire. And, well, it worked. People from all over the world came together, and we raised over 200,000. Your mortgage is paid off, and you can officially retire." For a moment, there was silence. Nola stared at Barron, her teacup trembling in her hands. "You're joking," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "No, ma'am," Barron said with a reassuring smile. "It's real. This money is for you. You don't have to work anymore." Tears welled up in Nola's eyes as the reality of his words sank in. Her hands flew to her mouth, and her shoulders shook as she began to cry. "I can't believe this," she managed to say between sobs. "You've given me something I never thought I'd have, freedom." Barron felt a lump in his throat as he watched her emotion pour out. Nola reached across the table and took his hands in hers. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with gratitude. "Thank you for seeing me, for caring. You've changed my life." Before Barron left, Nola handed him a small, carefully wrapped package. "I don't have much to give, but I want you to have this," she said softly. Inside was a delicate locket that had belonged to her mother. "This is my most precious keepsake. I want you to know how much this means to me." Barron accepted the gift with tears in his eyes. It wasn't just a token, it was a symbol of trust, love, and the connection they had formed. As he walked away, he felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. This wasn't the end of their story, it was just the beginning of something far greater. With her mortgage paid off and the financial burden lifted, Nola finally embraced a life she had only dreamed of. Retirement felt like a gift she never thought she would receive. For the first time in decades, she didn't have to set an alarm or worry about her next shift. Instead, her days were filled with peace and joy. Nola spent her mornings tending to the small garden in her backyard, something she had always wanted to do but never had the time for. She baked cookies with her grandchildren, read books she had collected over the years, and even took up knitting, a hobby she had long forgotten. Her laughter filled her home, a sound her family hadn't heard in years. When reporters visited her to follow up on the story, Nola spoke with gratitude. "I can't thank everyone enough for what they've done for me. It's not just about the money, it's about the kindness, the love, and the way people came together. It's proof that even the smallest act of compassion can change someone's life." Her words resonated deeply, inspiring others to look for ways they could help those around them. For Barron, the journey didn't end with Nola's retirement. Late one evening, he sat alone in his room, scrolling through the hundreds of messages he had received since the campaign began. People shared their own struggles, their gratitude, and how Nola's story had inspired them to act. Barron felt a deep sense of fulfillment, but also a responsibility. This experience had changed him. He realized that his platform could be used for something far more meaningful than he had ever imagined. Barron began brainstorming ways to help others like Nola, people who had worked hard their entire lives but were still struggling. He started planning initiatives, focusing on small, personal acts of kindness that could have a big impact. He wanted to show the world that anyone, regardless of their background, could make a difference. One evening, Barron sat with his parents to share what had happened. His father listened intently as Barron described the journey, from noticing Nola at Walmart to the overwhelming success of the fundraiser. Melania placed a hand on his shoulder, her eyes shining with pride. "We're so proud of you, Barron," she said softly. "You've shown the world the importance of compassion." Donald Trump, often known for his larger-than-life persona, looked at his youngest son with a rare smile. "What you did matters," he said. "You've proven that real leadership starts with caring for people." This moment solidified Barron's resolve. He knew that his actions had created a ripple effect, inspiring countless others to spread kindness. Nola's story was just the beginning. Her newfound happiness was a testament to what could happen when people came together for a common cause. And for Barron, it was the start of a journey he was determined to continue, a journey fueled by empathy, purpose, and the belief that even one act of kindness could change the world. If this story inspires you, please make sure to like, subscribe and press the bell icon.